And just like that, we are live. Hi, I'm Alana, and I am the creative director at Filmkik. And today on the show, I have Tema Staig, and I am so stoked to have her on the show. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She is in case you don't know who she is already, Tema is the executive director of Women in Media, and it's an organization that she founded in 2010. And in 2016, in response to the many excuses for why people weren't hiring women behind the scenes in entertainment, she created the Women in Media Crew List, which I am a part of, and a Google Doc that went viral. Oh, I don't know about that one, so I should definitely ask her about that. But we're going to be talking about a few things today, not just about the filmmaking industry, which of course we'll get into, but I am really interested in her as an artist and just who she is, independent of all of the different roles and titles and hats. Like, who she is she's this incredibly brilliant, vibrant woman that is doing so much, and I want to get her perspective on what's going on in the world today. So I am just going to bring her on just like that and cue the overlay. And hi, Tema.
Hi, Alana. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I am very excited to have you on the show today and to talk about life and love and all that good stuff.
Thank you for having me on. It's so great to see you.
Thank you. All right, so I want to start with, we had a conversation last week or earlier this week where we were talking about, all right, we're building the show. What are we going to talk about? And you said so many things that just completely inspired me. Like, I went in thinking I want to interview her about filmmaking, and then I spoke to you and I was like, wow, no wonder she's a filmmaker. It's because she's incredible as a person individually, right? You could be a cook and you would be great. And
That's very kind of you.
you what?
It's very kind of you. I like to hope you're right.
Yes, I think you are. I think I am right. And I like to think that I'm right, pretty often. My husband
Oh,
would definitely agree that I'm always right. Anyway, I have a question for you. How would you like to see society change coming out of this?
well, I'd like to see a much more equitable society for sure. I'd like people to be more conscious of how we treat each other, and to see that all the inequalities that we have are just being laid bare. That, you know, the issues that we've had for so long are not going to go away unless we make them go away. And I'd also like to see people take a little bit more time to think about the changes that we're seeing, with our earth right now. Like, I think I told you that when I was flying home from my mom's, right when the whole COVID thing was starting, I was flying home at night and I could see the stars for the first time out of my plane window. And it made me think that we've polluted the earth for so long that I had never seen the stars prior to that, looking out of a plane window. And it made me think, if we're already sheltering in place for just a short period of time on a global level, what will happen if we did this on the regular, or if we actually started paying attention to, like, not having fires all over Australia and not putting the Amazon, like lighting a match the Amazon. I mean, how can we make our planet a home that will be healthy for all of us? I mean, maybe this COVID thing is kind of a reset because we've kind of screwed ourselves over in a lot of ways. So that's really the question. What do we want to do to make this the best possible home for ourselves? It's kind of like, um, like when your house is an absolute disaster, as mine is because I'm in COVID. Like, my house is a disaster. I think all of our homes are somewhat of a disaster. But then, like, you spend a day cleaning your home and you're like, oh, I really like living in my house. This is a great place. I don't need to, like, redo everything. I just need to, like, put shit away. I feel like that's kind of like what we need to do with our planet. And I'm hoping that people are going to think more along those lines.
Yeah, I like that. I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So I guess you touched on this, like just how humanity is going to benefit from this. And how have you personally benefited from this? On which levels do you feel like you've become a better version of yourself?
Well, I mean, um, I've become a better producer, I think, in a lot of ways, in that I've been able to reach out to people who I'd been trying to get onto the Women in Media groove for a while. So I actually got to interview Mary Harron for one of our events, and that was really exciting for me. So I would say it taught me that the many years of persistence where I'd been trying to get her involved in the organization, either screening one of her films and coming on or whatever, she was always too busy, out of the country, not in LA, whatever. Like she would say, she was so gracious. She would say things like, "Thank you for showing American Psycho. Thank you for showing my film, but no, I won't be there." And I was like, it's COVID time. Who do I want to talk to more than anyone else in the world? And I thought, well, I really want to talk to Mary Harron. So I totally emailed her and I was like, oh, hey, do you want to come talk with me for a little bit? She was like, yeah, sure. I was like, what? She wrote me back.
Oh
And
my
I totally girl
goodness.
crushed. It was a great interview. It was so much fun. So I feel like COVID has made people more accessible in a lot of ways, especially the last few months, because like people, even though they're working, especially if they're in development, they're working, but they're also kind of stuck with their families, so they need a diversion. So I
Yes.
think any chance to talk about grown-ups is a really good thing to do. So we've had access to people who we otherwise they were just too busy for one reason or another, and now they're just like, yeah, okay, sure.
That's amazing. I agree. I mean, because you know where they are. They're at home. So it's like,
They're at home.
I know where you are. You're at home.
Yeah, you're not on vacation. I know that for a fact. And if you are, you're stuck there.
And if you're stuck there, you can still meet me because it's just a Zoom call or something like this. So there's really very little excuse, which I think has been great because it has united us, right? So where before I would have been like, okay, I'm going to interview Tema, so I'm going to go down to LA and I'm going to rent a studio, a small one, a modest one, and we'll set it up and we'll do it. Um, that would have been a great idea and it would have been a great thing, but I would have had to come up with a higher budget. I would have had to come up with the timing, the crew. Like it would have been a production that would have then made it a little bit more difficult to just do it on the fly the way that we're doing it now. So I think that being able to, and I still look forward to going back to the studio, but now I will definitely be thinking with, oh, well, just because we can't get that person in the studio doesn't mean that we can't get them in the show at all. Like, I feel like it has, a lot of barriers have come down and the internet's only going to get faster. It's only going to get better. The technology is only going to get better. And we're going to be able to just communicate with people instantly from anywhere in the world, which we already can. And we're only going to be able to do that better, which is great.
Absolutely. I mean, we had people on the call. We did an event yesterday, and we had people on from New Zealand, from Canada, from all over, so we can spread our mission and our message and have all kinds of cool people on from all over asking questions. So we're getting more perspectives,
Yeah.
with a global perspective. So even though we're isolated and you're really not supposed to be flying between countries and all that, we're still meeting
Yeah.
all over the world and probably better, more instantaneously than we thought of before. I mean, sure, we Zoom called or did Google calls or whatever for years, but now it's just like normal. It's just
Right.
normal. Even my 82-year-old mom is like, "Can you teach me how to use the Zooms call? Can you set
Yes.
me up? Can you set me up with the Zoom call so I can talk to my doctor?" And I'm like, "I can try."
Oh my God. That is adorable.
Yeah, I know.
But I
Everybody's
mean, everybody's on it. Everybody's enjoying it. It'll be cute when the next call when she asks you, "How do I put on the makeup filters?" That's gonna be a good
oh
call.
yeah, the smoothing filters, right? I know. What kind of lighting do I need?
Next time you see her, she has a ring light around her webcam, and then she's like a professional Zoom caller.
Yeah,
Could
don't think
happen.
you're asking. It's coming.
All right, so I agree with you. I think that having this global this communication on a global scale is really important, right? We have filmmakers all over the world. We have a bunch more publishing houses. People are hungry for content. So like Amazon, Netflix, Apple, all of these Disney Plus, everybody wants more and more content. And we're not going to be able to produce all of that in LA, right? Like, we're going to need to activate filmmakers all over the world. And we want to hear those narratives. We want to hear different perspectives, hear different stories. And I think that having an organization like Women in Media be able to affect at a global scale in that way is really important. And I'm very happy that you're doing it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we're really excited to see what the new content is going to be. And I feel like we've been moving in the right direction for the last few years in particular, where there's a lot more content by and about women, and women are being recognized as a really strong market. We're driving the content. We're watching a lot of the content, and we're making a lot of the content above and below the line and in front of the camera. So I think we're going to play a very important role in the stories that are told, because people don't want to see the same thing they've seen before. You know, like that whole notion that feels so antiquated that we have to cater to the 14-year-old boys.
Yeah.
Feels very outdated, because it is outdated.
Yeah.
That whole notion has like gone out the window. I haven't heard anybody say that probably in a couple of years. You're welcome. Anyway, I think that's driving really interesting content, because we're seeing stories that haven't been told before, or stories that are similar but different, right? Because we all want to see ourselves on screen, but more heroic, more beautiful, younger, just better looking all around.
Skinnier.
Skinnier, totally. Totally. Thinner, taller, leggier, like all the above. I'm with you. But now we get to see it with a different perspective, or we get to see it just a little bit different, because we just haven't heard those voices or stories. I mean, I produced a film over the summer that was about a female veteran, right? Like, first of all, we don't get that many stories about women vets, right?
No, that's a good point.
Because they're there. It's not like this is some weird anomaly. It's just their stories aren't being told. But it's about how she suffers period poverty, and normally you're like, oh God, really? But then when you actually watch it, it's extremely poignant and affecting. And I think anybody can really enjoy it. But it's a story we haven't seen it, which is kind of bananas, because it's not like women all of a sudden got their periods. And it's not like women all of a sudden have had issues with, staining or whatever. I know it's like, bodily functions and all that.
Wait, sorry. Now I have to ask. So when you said period poverty, I thought that it was a period film that she experienced poverty, but you're saying like your menstruation period.
Yes. I know. Oh, really?
What does that mean?
So, okay, so that's what I'm saying. These are stories that haven't been told. So it's about a homeless veteran and her friend who she served with. So two homeless veterans. And one of them has her period, and because she's homeless, like I don't want to give too much away, but they don't have sanitary products. Right? They've run out. Yeah. And she has to go for a job interview. So now she suffers this problem, right? How do you make it through your day when your body is fighting against you? Right? And there's nothing you can do about it other than, what do you do? Where do you get them? And this isn't something we cover for our veterans, which is kind of bullshit.
Yes.
Women, why should women who have served our country have to be embarrassed and suffer for something that's so normal and natural? And why should we humiliate them, allow them to be humiliated in this way? It's wrong. And I think that it made me really think about it. Those products should be free for all veterans, period. They should be free for all women, but let's start with the veterans, okay? Just across the board, they serve their time.
They can get some pads or cups or whatever.
Anything. A plethora, just a big smorgasbord of lady products. That's what I'm talking about. Just go in, girls. Take what you want.
I love that. Let's do it. Let's make that our mission. We can do it. We'll make some cool videos. We'll start. You already made the film. You made the film.
Mhm.
I'll work on some other kind of promo or videos or something, and we'll make it happen because why not?
Yeah, it
Let's fucking
premiered
do
at
it.
Tribeca. It premiered at
Ah,
Tribeca. So really, we're not the only ones who are like interested in this topic.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
wait. So this year? So you shot it last year. It was Tribeca this year.
So we shot it in 2019 as part of our camaraderie initiative. So I had this crazy idea, right? So I've been part of a few initiatives where either I've been picked to, be like a fellow, or I've seen other people do it. And I mean, as grateful as I am, and as much as I think these things are necessary, I felt like they could have maybe gone a little bit farther. They usually touch one or two people, maybe 8 or 10 people, and they go over the course of 6 months or a year. But I felt like there needed to be a bigger splash if possible. I wanted to touch hundreds of people if I could over the summer because I see the equality issue in the film industry as being a numbers game, right? So if we're only worried about the directors and the producers and the writers, it's a handful of people. But if we talk about the crew, getting more women in the crew, that's a lot of people because there's like tons of people in your camera department, tons of people in art, etc. All the vanities are okay, clearly, but in all the other departments, like the grip department, whatever, we run a little bit short. So I wanted to help as many people as we could, get some mentors on board, get trainings, and we did a speed networking event where there were about 100 women there.
Oh,
Oopsie. 20 of them were semifinalists. We ended up shooting 3 films over the summer, but we had the 20 semifinalists. And out of them, I think about half of them or more have already shot their films on their own. And there were 3 that shot with us. And we wanted to raise their production value. So we got all kinds of gear donated and lent. We had lots of incredible vendor sponsorship. We threw in a fair chunk of change as well. Um, and we just did tons of training and panels and mentoring. And, like we had Colin Trevorrow mentored one of the filmmakers. He's the director of Jurassic World. So it's only the like most expensive or the highest box office hit of like ever. So I was able to get my friend Colin on board, and Jermaine Franco, who's a composer, she did Coco and Dora the Explorer and Tag and Little, and she's just
wow.
brilliant. So she was able to mentor. Um, we had the writer of The Place Beyond the Pines, Ben Cocho, came in and talked to people about their scripts. And full days of touching the cameras that we use. We got cameras from Black Magic, which is with DaVinci Resolve. And they gave us classes, and then they ended up giving us actually 5 cameras to give away at the end. So we gave away cameras for people's kit, which is a really big deal because if you have kit, you're more likely to get hired, right? Especially as a DP.
Right.
So we have 4K and 6K cameras that we were able to give to women. We also had like sound gear and lights, and the whole idea was to bring up as many people as we could so they would be more hireable.
Yeah.
And the actual shoots were big budget for a short film because normally it's like you and a bunch of friends and your mom cooks lunch and you grab some lights and you rent what you have to and maybe get insurance and you steal some shots, right? I didn't say that. Don't steal shots. Go get your permit. Anyway, so we did everything above board, and we had 3-ton, 5-ton trucks filled with GAC, like packed with grip gear, lighting. We had bathrooms, portable, beautiful bathrooms on set, which like never happens on a short film. The people who were saying that, like, what? I've never seen this on a short film. We know this is a real production. Oh, dang. So that was the idea. Oh, yeah. And then our post-production, we did at NBC Universal. So we did our post-sound and our post-color at NBC for all 3 films, which is really powerful. If you're an emerging filmmaker and you get to sit in this like pretty glamorous dark room. Like, yes, it's a cave, but it's a really nice freaking cave where they bring
Yeah.
you lunch and there's like, you know, coffee and there's scones there all day. It's like it's pretty cushy deal. And somebody who really knows what the F they're doing, and you can just sit there and be an artist. That's a really special experience for emerging filmmakers.
It
So
is.
that was what we wanted. That was what we wanted to do. We wanted to give people those opportunities. We were able to shoot on the backlot if we wanted to. We ended up doing a tour and it didn't work for anybody's script, but we'll bank that for the next camaraderie. I mean, just being on backlot was really cool for people.
Oh
So
yeah. I mean, sometimes it's that initial like shock of being in an edit bay or being in a backlot and just
yeah,
thinking like or being around that gear and thinking, can I touch this lens? And after you touch it a few times, you trust that you can. You trust that you are capable of grabbing objects without spontaneously dropping them, which is, the first time I had my hands on a $70,000 lens, I was like, it's like I was so nervous. And,
I
I didn't
know. I
drop
know.
it. I was fine. I made it.
You're totally fine.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. There was the other thing that we had. We had a choice of anamorphic or spherical lenses.
So
What
you
does
had a
that
choice. That's amazing.
We had choices, and and actually the grand prize was the beginnings of an 18-day shoot. So our grand prize winner won a 3-ton truck filled with grip gear for 18 days. I know. And choice of anamorphic or sphericals from either Atlas or Sigma.
Wow.
And now they've got 5 women who have cameras to choose from, so they can go eeny me. Okay, I'll you DP for me, and then you second unit for me, and you steady cam
Oh,
for me.
wow.
So
I
yeah, so we
love
want to
that.
open up these choices, and like I say, affect as many people as we could, and make these 3 really great films by women. Um, with experiences that we hadn't necessarily seen before, but they're also kind of universal and fascinating. So, like the one about the period poverty, I mean, I hate to label it that way, but in many ways it is. I think it's something everybody can identify with because we've all been, whether you're a man or a woman or any gender, we've all been in a position where maybe we didn't feel our best and we had to rise to the occasion. And it was hard. Like life can be really freaking hard.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, especially now, I mean, life is a shit show, right? We're in the COVIDs and it's a mess. So,
I like that. Yes,
we're
we
doing
are in
our
the COVIDs. Yes.
best. We're doing our best, but let's face it, like the US is a shit show.
Oh,
Um,
fuck yeah.
but we're doing what we can and trying to rise above it as best we can. So I feel like it's a universal story in
Yeah.
many ways, whether you're fighting nature or fighting the government or fighting people's attitudes, whatever it is, I think it's still a universal story.
I love that. And I love seeing stories as also just unrepresented female stories and not necessarily meaning that it's just women in it, because there are some I think that stories about women can be also told from a man's viewpoint or another gender viewpoint, but it is still a
Yeah,
story about a woman. So there's different things. It's not just about like, oh, we were going to make this action movie, let's make it about women, so let's just make it a woman that is the main character instead of a man. You just swap out the actor. That's not, I mean, let's do it, fine, but like that's not the same thing. I want to see Captain America or Miss Marvel. I want to see her say, I'm on my period today. Like, how am I gonna fight you? My super suit is stained, like, I don't know. Like,
we
wouldn't that be
fight me
funny?
from behind, okay? We're gonna be fine.
Like, I want to see her pregnant. I want to see like what are her superpowers when
Totally.
she's suddenly pregnant, and it's totally fine if it's told from Thor's perspective. I mean, obviously it would be better seen from hers, but the fact that these are just not really being represented, not just the faces, but the actual stories behind these faces and the types of challenges that we encounter. And then I feel like then it just makes you feel like you're alone. It makes you feel like you're the only woman in the world going through that when you don't see those stories represented. And when you see yourself being represented, you feel like you can embrace who you are better. And ultimately, as artists, we can decide, do we want to make films that educate, or films that inspire, or films that make other people feel like they're not alone? I think that's a worthy pursuit. Not fully. You can do some other, action popcorn film if that floats your boat. I know that I love a good car chase scene when I can see it, of course. But every once in a while, yeah, it's good to see something that's a little bit more like, hey, this resonates with me as a human.
Yeah, I mean, I think even the superhero films and the blow up films and all that, I think they serve a really important need for people because it makes them feel heroic, and the action is so it's very cathartic to go through that. You know, you have your hour and a half where your heart is racing and you're really excited, and you kind of
Yeah.
get that out of your system, and then you're like, oh, good, I can go home and eat dinner now. It's all good, or go watch more
Yeah.
movies. You've had that catharsis. But I mean, guys have been telling our stories for like ever. Like
Right.
there's
Right.
Rosemary's Baby, which was by Roman Polanski, right? The Questionable Guy, great film. But like, imagine if Mary Harron directed that. Oh my God. Or like even Patty Jenkins or Nikki Caro. Like, oh, Jennifer Kent. If Jennifer Kent, who did the Babadook, I would put down big shekels to see her do a remake of Rosemary's Baby. Oh yeah, without a
Wow.
doubt. Big
Then
money, big right here. I'd make it rain.
make it rain. Do it. I want to see it. Make it do it. There is
Yeah.
something very different about having female directors, and we could have an episode just on that. But I can definitely say that you become sensitive to certain things when you have been in those people's shoes, and when you think of like the perspective of the camera. And there are so many things that I've even found myself falling into gender stereotypes when I'm writing a character, or when I'm doing certain things. And I like just the way you frame a man versus the way you frame a woman. And then I'll have to really catch myself. So even as a woman, a lot of those, just because of all of the media that I've consumed. And I think it's important to kind of retrain yourself and reprogram yourself and see things made by different viewpoints and more independent filmmakers, and just things that are a little bit less produced by the same people, just different kinds of
Mhm.
people. And then it expands your repertoire of like tapestry of images to pull from as a creative. And so that when you go out there, you're not just doing the same things that you saw Hollywood, top 5 Hollywood films doing for the last 30 years. And it's not to say you don't want to know that, but that shouldn't be the only thing, your only reference point, I think, as a filmmaker.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think, it's a daily struggle trying to reprogram ourselves because we've been programmed with so much misogyny. It's such a systemic issue,
Mm-hmm.
and it's everywhere, and it's consistent, and it's constant. So I think it's okay to acknowledge that, and then to kind of catch yourself and be like, oh, wow, like I got to get my head back on, do a little soul searching when that does happen. I think it's okay to falter, to like make a mistake. But I also think it's important to kind of go back and be like, oh, I probably could have done that better. You know what I mean?
So you
I
do it
think,
better next time.
yeah, you keep trying to be better. That's all. It's a
No, no. Okay, we're gonna wait for her to come back. All right. So while she comes back, when we spoke last time, she had so many fantastic things to say about what does it mean to thrive. And the definition of success seems to be getting redefined. Now, I don't want to completely rephrase what she said, and obviously not give it justice, but that was going to be one of my last questions for Tema, was for her to tell me what success, how she views success differently now than she used to pre the COVIDs, which is great. It's going to stick. That's the way you should say it. And I don't see her on. So I'm going to give her another minute, and I am just going to start wrapping the show, and hopefully she can get back on. And this is where working from home sucks. This is it. Because if we were in the studio hardwired and connected, this would definitely not be happening. But it's okay, because I'm very, very happy that I was able to speak with her today. And I'm going to have two other shows today, which is crazy. But I had to have these people on at the same day, and it's going to be fantastic. And we're starting off great with Tema, and then I'm going to be interviewing Kyle from the Coterie Winery in San Jose, and they are a fantastic little winery. It's my neighborhood winery, and he is going to be talking to me about how he has been producing wine from the whole life cycle, from like growing and picking the grapes and bringing them and processing them and doing all this stuff. I obviously don't know my winemaking terms. So we're going to be talking about that. And then today we're also going to run the second pilot for drawing with Filmkik. And I'm going to be doing that with Peggy, and that's going to be tonight. So I hate to cut it like this, but sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Tema is not connecting, so I am going to go ahead and end the show. And wait a second. I can see her, I think. Wait, are we there?
It's because we're in the COVIDs.
It's the COVIDs!
It's the COVIDs, like the upside down, only it's the COVIDs.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it did get, I don't remember what you were saying because then I started talking about something else, but what were you saying? Yeah.
I remember. I was talking about how systemic sexism is, and racism, dare I say it. But all of that is kind of part of our internalized who we are, certainly in the US and much of the world, I think. Maybe less so in other parts of the world, but certainly in the US. And I see people getting beat up on online in particular when that happens, when they falter or somebody doesn't like the way somebody has shown their feminism, like with Natalie Portman when Rose McGowan went off on her for wearing women directors on her cape. Did you hear that story? Oh, this is a good one. Anyway, so at the Academy Awards, Natalie Portman wore a cape that had embroidery of all the women directors, and Rose McGowan went off after her saying that she didn't hire enough women, which may or may not be true. I mean, her production company is pretty young, and maybe they'll be a little bit better. I reached out to her. Anyway, so the bottom line is we try not to give people a nasty hard time. We don't want it to blow up, certainly not online.
No. Wait. Fuck. Well, until she comes back, hopefully she will come back. I agree. I was going to say that I agree. I don't think that it's worth giving people a hard time because I think that's where people get a bad taste in their mouth about the subject, I don't want to nag you about hiring women. I want you to enjoy hiring women because you see the value of hiring women, and that is what we should do. Not weird at all. I'm talking to her frozen face. I mean, I feel like she can still hear me. I can feel you hearing me. But you're not. Nope. All right. I'm going to give it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.